family, it's time for a true look at your world. Let's get hooked up for Pack Therapy. Here's your hosts, Tim Donnelly and Graham Hill.
Welcome back into, I should say just welcome into Pack Therapy, the podcast. I'm Tim Donnelly, as always, joined by Graham Hill. Before we get started, and this, I mean, we can call a spade a spade. This is not going to be a fun podcast for the Wolfpack Nation out there. But before we get everybody down a little bit and have an honest conversation, right? Pack Therapy, you got to kind of dig through your traumas. Please like, subscribe, follow this podcast everywhere it can be found. Tell your friends about it. Pass it around. Grab the link. Send it to your neighbor. We greatly appreciate that. It's available everywhere podcasts can be found, as well as on YouTube. Now let's talk about where this NC State season is. This is how we get ourselves locked in, and what I mean by that is going into the Syracuse game. Every single person I talked to, every single time we talked about it on my afternoon show, every time we talked about that game here on this podcast, it was called a must-win game. Must win. You have to win. Must win. If you don't win your NCAA tournament hopes, you can kiss them goodbye. Must win. You have to win. Must win. And then they didn't win. And it's like, well, we're pot committed, right? We were on the record. We've had the conversations about how that game was a must-win game. And really, starting with the Clemson game, every game after that was must-win. You had to keep building and building and building. And it was going to be a tall task. But now that they haven't won, it is like time to evaluate what the season was.
Tim, unfortunately, the weather outside on this Friday morning kind of fits the mood of what this podcast is
As we are recording, it is a downpour.
We are not trying to ruin your weekend by any means, Wolfpack fans, but it's just time to start having this honest conversation of maybe what's left to play for this season. That might be a harsh question to ask, but
no, there's one thing left to play for, and it's you have to win the ACC tournament. It's the last bullet in the metaphorical chamber. I've said this before. I'll say it until I'm out of breath. Blue in the face, red in the face. This is a program that should be going to the NCAA tournament every year, and it should be oh my gosh, what happened? The random years they don't, right? They should be going 8 out of 9 years, and that 9th year should be like, oh gosh, remember when our 6 starting scorers all got hurt? Like that is what this program should be. So the only way this season is not a disappointment is if they win the ACC tournament. Now we'll talk about what that does for the last 5 games of the season. But first, I think it's important to look at how they got here, right? The number one thing, and we've been talking about on this show, this is something that kind of snowballed. Early on in the season, it was like something to monitor. Halfway through the season, is getting worse. At this point, I think it's the reason why their season never reached its potential, and it's the changing of roles. I don't know for a fact anyone outside of DJ Horn, whose role is to be a flamethrower and score 30 points whenever he can, and Casey Morsell, whose role is to be the grad guard, right? The graduate year guard who's going to be the calming force. I don't think anyone else knows what their role is on a day-to-day basis. Early in the year, we talked about it. MJ Rice was hurt. Is he coming back? When is he coming back? Okay, whose role is he going to take? Cam Woods, is he eligible? Is he coming back? Whose role is he going to take? Ben Middlebrooks and Mo Diarra, who's going to be the other big alongside DJ Burns? Can you play DJ Burns? There was a minute there in the middle of the season where his minutes were lost. Dennis Parker Jr., he was a starter. I've said this. If you took his highlight film from the first half of the year, it's one of the better highlight films on the team. He's barely playing anymore. His role completely diminished. Michael O'Connell, guy coming off the bench to run the second unit, suddenly he was playing 35 minutes a game and being asked to run the show. Jaden Taylor kind of reversed with Michael O'Connell. Whenever Michael O'Connell was playing a ton, Jaden Taylor wasn't, and they've flip-flopped, on a game-to-game basis the last couple of weeks. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, early on in the season, you just start saying, okay, they were dealt a bad hand, the MJ Rice thing, and he was in and out real quickly, and Cam Woods. They're figuring it out. 7 new faces, 7 new transfers. Not a huge deal, but they're going to have to figure out what their roles are. Mid-season, it's like, all right, you're pushing it. Right? Get it, you want to know which players are going to be able to miss shots in the first 10 minutes and shoot their way through it, and which players, if you miss shots in the first 10 minutes, you're going to be sitting next to Coach Keats for the rest of the game. Like, you have to know that. And now that there's 5 games left in the season, and you look at the last 2 games, Jaden Taylor played 18 minutes and then 29 minutes. Michael O'Connell was for a month playing 35 minutes, then he played 20 minutes. And it's not, just on a game-to-game basis, I don't think they know what their roles are.
You're exactly right. Unfortunately, coming to this season, there was a lot of questions for different players in their respective ways. For Casey Morcell, what role is he going to have as a grad guard? And he certainly has had a leadership role off the court.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we just have not seen it on the court.
He hasn't shot it as well, which is really tough. When you shoot, 41 and change % from 3 last year, and then you come in this year, and especially early on, he was shooting like 30%. It's just hard to be, that leader, that give me the ball guy when the shots aren't falling, and sometimes the shots aren't falling.
Another question, how's DJ Burns going to continue the momentum from last season? Great season last year, not taking anything away from that.
Great second half of the season last year for DJ Burns.
True, great second half of the season. Unfortunately, has just been nowhere near what he was last year, and honestly has been more of a defensive liability than he has production on offense.
It's all tied together, right? Because one thing State had last year was shooting, right? And it was Morcell, and it was guys that aren't with the team anymore, graduate guys that are scoring in the pros and all those sorts of things. They had shooting, and DJ Burns needs spacing, right? He's a big boy. He needs room to operate, and with Morcell taking a step back, shooting the 3, with the rest of the team not lighting it up from 3 in a way that provides that spacing for DJ Burns, he just hasn't been as effective. And that kind of went into what I was saying, right? Is DJ the guy? Does his offense make up for his defense when the team around him isn't allowing him to be his best self offensively? And are you willing, as Coach Keats, at any point in time to say, DJ Burns was electric last year. He's a great guy, great personality. Everybody loves him. He's in all the name, image, and likeness stuff. All the fans want his autograph. Are you willing to play him 10 minutes a night?
Yeah.
And that is something that, I think a coach that's been a national champion before and has 30 years of experience can be comfortable doing that and just saying, this is what I think is best. But a coach who's struggled a bit and last year made the NCAA tournament, which was very, very important, largely on the back of DJ Burns, it's much more difficult to kind of turn away from that and say he's not going to play 27 minutes. He's not going to be the focal point of the offense. He's going to play 10 minutes, and he's going to be an accessory. Unfortunately,
it just feels like all these hypothetical questions that were being asked before the season are just going to be left unanswered with these 5 games remaining. That's just my observation.
What questions left unanswered?
Just kind of what I was going to. How is Casey Morcell going to develop into a leadership role on the court as a grad guard? How's DJ Burns going to continue the momentum? You mentioned guys like Breon Pass, Dennis Parker Jr., LJ Thomas. How are they going to provide sparks off the bench, and just how these transfers outside of DJ Horn going to help lead to a successful season for NC State?
Dennis Parker Jr. is an interesting one for me. Breon Pass flashed. LJ Thomas flashed. I can think of 1 or 2 games for each of them where I was going like, why isn't this guy playing more? But Dennis Parker Jr. is the interesting one for me. 6'6", young kid, recruit out of high school, right? Because we'll talk about transfers and this program in a second. But I think, was he perfect? No, Dennis Parker Jr. was not perfect. I was calling him the hidden DJ because there's DJ Horn, there's DJ Burns, probably the 2 biggest stars on the team. Then there's Dennis Parker Jr. I'm like, he's the hidden DJ. He needs to be included in that 3. Not because he's perfect, not because he wasn't making mistakes, but because it was obvious he was showing some potential. And then, the big decision was to limit his minutes aggressively. And you hate to ask this question, but I said this wasn't going to be a fun podcast. It was going to be an honest podcast. Would you stick around in modern college basketball if you showed that kind of promise as a freshman and then you were rewarded by the last month of the season playing almost not at all, like significantly less, and you have a highlight tape that, if you put it in the hands of some recruiter is going to be really, really interesting to go somewhere else and play. And that is, I think, a detriment to the way this season played out, that, somebody like him, instead of being rewarded, instead of feeling like part of the future, may feel like they're being phased out of the future.
Or he's taking a step back in his collegiate career.
Or he may think, I came here and I was good enough to play in the first half. I'm not good enough to play in the second half. This program was the one I trusted to develop me. So what the heck's going on here? It's just, it's 2024 college basketball where DJ Burns didn't start his career at NC State. DJ Horn, brand new to NC State. Casey Morcell started at another ACC program. Michael O'Connell started at another brand new ACC program, that being Stanford. You look around, this team is built on transfers, and so obviously they're aware of how the portal works. If somebody's unhappy somewhere, they're going to look for greener pastures, and I think some of the guys that are young might look around and go, well, I'm not happy because you played all those transfers you brought in over me, even though I showed some things.
Yeah, and even though I was a freshman, I did show potential. I didn't have the best stuff, but it's just kind of growing pains that you go through, especially playing in a conference like the ACC.
And let's be real. It's not like you benched the freshman for showing growing pains, and then the fifth-year senior didn't show growing pains.
Yeah, no.
As a former athlete, I can tell you, when you get benched or when you get put on the sideline and somebody else goes in, there's that cynical part of you that's like, I hope they stink, because you're like, I want them to see what they're missing out. Let's see what they've benched, how much better they had it. But when they play great, there is that moment where you're like,
oh no.
No, you're like, I kind of get it, right? You never say that publicly, right? You still think you're the best. You still have confidence in yourself. But, I played quarterback. If I was benched and the quarterback went in there and threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, it's really hard to look at the coach and say, like, what a mistake you made. That's not what happened here, right? Guys' roles were diminished. Others were given that role, right? And it's and that's going to be way more frustrating than, like, if you lost your job to DJ Horn over the last 3 weeks, it's going to be really hard to say, I should have been playing over DJ Horn. He's averaging like 28 points per game over the recent hot stretch. He's scoring 32 even in losses. He's going toe-to-toe with Hunter Salas in Wake Forest and having that back-and-forth moment. If DJ Horn takes your job, DJ Horn probably deserved your job. If Jaden Taylor or Michael O'Connell are taking all of your minutes on the perimeter, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating based on their production, and it's going to be a little bit more upsetting. Along those lines, the transfer portal, we have to look at how this team was built. We have to look at how this team moving forward maybe should stray or go back to that well. We talk transfer portal, building a team, coming up right after this, right here on Pack Therapy. Back on Pack Therapy, Tim Donnelly, Graham Hill. I think at this point, we're talking a lot about how NC State got to this point. And we're going to end it on an optimistic note, by the way. I feel like we should tease that. Going to try to bring it up at the end. But the portal hanging over this team. I think this is the type of season that makes you question that building process. And I have to be, I'll be upfront with it. At the beginning of the year, I looked at the assemblage of talent. I was thinking video game style, right? Like, the college football video game that's coming out now. You go get the running back with 95 speed. You go get the quarterback with the accuracy traits. You go get the wide receivers with catchability, and you put them on a team, and you don't have to worry about how it all meshes together, right? Because it's just abilities, and it's numbers, and it's video game. In real life, put 7 new faces on a team, mix it in with, the 6 faces that just got to know each other really over the previous year. There's no guarantee that, the shooter's going to shoot well. There's no guarantee that the big guy's going to get the post-entry passes that he's used to getting, because it's different players, it's different chemistry. And, I think last year you saw kind of the top end, right, where halfway through the season it clicks. All the new faces come together, they play well, they go on a run, they make the NCAA tournament. This year you see the dangers, which is it never came together, and you're left with, again, a lot of talent, but it just never really, the sum of the parts was never greater than the individuals.
Give Keats credit. Every now and then he gets it right with transfers. I think back to his first year where he had guys like Al Freeman and kind of had to take over the mess that was previously NC State basketball. That team got into the NCAA tournament. It wasn't a bad year. I think they only had maybe 7 or 8 total losses at the end of the year. And then last season, as you mentioned, Jaquavion Smith coming back was a big part of that reason. He was the mesh of that team. But then Jarkel Joyner was electric coming from Ole Miss. DJ Burns obviously had great offensive production. And then this year, it kind of just dropped off a little bit.
Well, I think that's the nature of the portal, right? The nature of the portal is it's quick fix, but it's a little risky, right? So if and I look at it like this: it's everything in moderation, right? It's one thing if you're bringing in DJ Horn, right? If you need a flamethrower scoring the ball, and you already have the rest of the team kind of put together, I think that's a perfect use of the portal, right? Hey, we got great defensive bigs. We have a point guard that can set everybody up. We have, this team that I really like. The only problem is when the shot clock's at 6 and somebody has to create their own bucket, we don't have that guy. Or when you need a 3, we don't have that guy. Okay, hit the transfer portal, Arizona State, bring in DJ Horn. That would work. The risk is when you become the team that, this year gets – 7 new faces. The year before, 5 new faces. The next year, you bring in 6 new faces. It's dangerous to get on that conveyor belt. And I think that's what popped up this year. Is it just never came together. Despite I don't feel bad about my optimism at the beginning of the year. When they went 5-1 in the ACC to start, I don't feel bad that I got excited for that because they have talented basketball players, and that's evident. It just they never in the biggest moments were able to kind of wrap their arms around what their team should be.
Yeah, it just felt like playing against, let's just say the team down the road and the early part of the ACC, a team that, keep in mind, brought a lot of key players back. They could not find a way to rally together when they kind of got punched in the mouth just a little bit and were able to show that, they do have a sense of urgency. They do have a sense of a bond as a team. And in other big moments of the game, they just never felt like they could get over that hump of, we trust each other enough that we can play in these tough games and we can come out on the right side of it.
And they had now we'll transition to the optimistic portion of this. Everything you just said, right? There's one more chance to get it right. They have 5 games left in the regular season versus Boston College, at Florida State, at North Carolina, versus Duke at home, and at Pitt. Then they go into the ACC tournament. Like I said, that's the last metaphorical bullet in the chamber, right? You have one more chance to go make the NCAA tournament. Is it a long shot? Is it likely? I mean, it's going to be tough, right? No one is going to pick NC State to win the tournament, and depending on how these games fall out will depend, if they're playing Wednesday, Tuesday, see where it all settles. But it is important to remember it is one more shot, right? And it does kind of change the goal of these next 5 games. Obviously, you want to win. Players are never going to be like, well, let's treat it like a scrimmage. But the most important thing over the next 5 is getting it right for the ACC tournament. And what I mean by that is you get one more adjustment. They've tried a billion different things this year. They've tried a billion different groupings, a billion different strategies. You get one more. And if you implement it now, you get 5 games to iron out the wrinkles, then you go into the ACC tournament. And this is where the hard conversations have to happen. DJ Burns, right? Is his offense worth his defense right now? And it might be not his fault, right, if the shooting around him isn't there. What gives you the best chance of shocking the world in D.C. for the ACC tournament? Whatever you think that is, practice it for 5 games, right? And do your best not to, obviously if someone gets hurt, someone gets in foul trouble, you're going to have to adjust. But do your best to, legitimately run what you think you're going to run in the ACC tournament.
I think what it comes down to is guys got to hold each other accountable. I remember when I was filling in for Dennis on your show, and you talked about how during your football days, when you could tell that a player wasn't really giving his best effort or running a route incorrectly, the natural thing for a quarterback to do when he gets back to the huddle is say, "You good?"
Yeah.
When it comes to practicing and preparing for these games, if let's just say DJ Burns might not be giving his best effort as Casey Morcell, as that grad guard, as the leader on this role that we thought you were going to be. You got to check him a little bit. You might have to start checking your teammates a little bit in practices ahead of these 5 final games.
And that is, I mean, that is leadership, right? And if you can go back and, I don't know, that's somewhere on the podcast for the afternoon show, that full story. But the reason why I told that story was I knew that wide receiver super well. We're really good friends. We text multiple times a week to this day. And he loafed, right? And there are guys on the team where if I caught you loafing, it would have been words I can't say on radio, can't say on podcasts. Wouldn't want my grandma hearing me say them. But with him, I knew that he cared. I knew that he knew he was wrong. So it was just like, are you good? Meaning like sarcastically almost like, are you hurt? Because I know you can move faster than that.
Yeah.
And he nodded and we were good and nothing more had to be said. So, you're right. It's holding accountable, but it's also understanding everyone beats to their own drum. One of my favorite sayings, and I've probably said it here, but I'll explain it again, is the bear or the hare. My wide receivers coach told me, like part of the hardest part of coaching, the hardest part of leading is figuring out if everybody is a bear or a hare. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And he said, okay, here's in this example, in this analogy, everybody is a fox. Okay, not like a foxy person, like a literal like red fox in the woods. You are a fox. Everybody is a fox. Some fox run their fastest when they're chasing a hare, when they're chasing a rabbit. They're going to go try to eat, right? That is chasing something. Some fox run their fastest when they're being chased by a bear, when they're running for their lives. So a coach's job and a leader's job is to find out, like, how does this other guy run their fastest? If it's chasing something, then when they do it right, praise the heck out of them, right? Oh, great route, man. Hey, if you do that, I'm going to come to you next time. Or in basketball, right? Like, hey, way to run the floor. I'm sorry I missed you, but next time you run the floor, I'm going to be sure to find you. You're going to get a dunk. Great job, man. Great job. Then the next time they're running like Terminator, right? Arms pumping, motivated to go get that play. The other side is when they don't run down on the floor, if they're motivated by the bear chasing them, you call them every name in the book and you make sure that, you wave your finger in their face. And then the next time they're sprinting like Terminator, arms pumping, because they don't want to get yelled at again. You have to figure all of that out. And those are the things that I'm saying, like, if you have an entire team of new faces or half a team of new faces, they just might not know. Like Casey Morcell, I've talked to him. We've had him on this podcast. Great dude, great head on his shoulders. I would trust him to lead my team. It may have taken him 2.5 months to figure out how to motivate Michael O'Connell because it doesn't happen overnight, or to have the trust to be able to yell at somebody, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And I think this year it took a long time, and in some cases it still hasn't been found.
In these last 5 games, just looking at it, one thing that also stands out to me is that there is familiarity with some of these opponents. Boston College tomorrow, that's who you start off your ACC play against with an 84-78 win on the road. You get them at home. Home court advantage should mean something. It should also mean something. It's worth noting that tomorrow that this is going to be the 50th anniversary of the 1973 national championship team. They're going to be commemorated at some point during the game. You can't lose that game with that team.
It's like David Thompson's statue night. It's with that team in attendance.
Exactly. You can't afford to lose that game. At Florida State, it'll be the only meeting of the two teams. Florida State 14-12, 8-7. Florida State's size concerns me a little bit.
Florida State is Florida State. They are what they are, and they always are. They're going to be between 6'7" and 6'10". They're going to have lanky guys who's they're I feel like they're always 6'8". Wingspan 7'7". Like they're always hands in deflections, hands in the passing lane, and Leonard Hamilton is he's just good at coaching that kind of team. So I would expect them to be a tough challenge.
With that size in the paint, NC State's going to have a good shooting performance. Can they do it?
With hands in their face,
we'll see.
Florida State's got rangy athletes. I feel like they're all Jonathan Isaac and Scotty Barnes.
The last 3 get a little more interesting. At number 10, UNC, 67-54
You throw
loss
out
at
the
PNC.
records when you have the rivalry.
That's true. And to be fair for NC State, they were in that game at PNC for a good portion. It's just towards the end when they kind of got into a scoring drought. That's when North Carolina put foot on the gas and ran away with it.
My favorite type of motivation down the stretch, you can play spoiler. You can go ruin your rivals' top seed, right, in the ACC tournament. You can knock them from a 2 seed to a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. Like, there's some motivation there. Same for Duke, which will be at home
on senior night.
On senior night, and then at Pitt. That one is might have some seeding implications as far as Tuesday or Wednesday for state. So, check them out. Those last 5 games. Get ready for the ACC tournament. That's what we have to do. That's all there is to do. It's Doctor Strange and Endgame, right? I've run 14 million possibilities. We only win one of them, so we got to make it happen.
You can't just have a moment similar to Syracuse where you've played them once before, and you still allowed them to get out to a 15-point lead at one point and score 55 points in the first half.
Yeah.
That just cannot happen.
And if a guy hits 4 threes in the first half, get a hand up on the next one, right? Don't let him get 8 threes. Chris Bell. That's going to do it for us here on Pack Therapy. Again, it wasn't the most fun, but I feel like we had to get it out. Appreciate you for letting us vent. Like, subscribe, pass this around. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you next week.